Imagine this, you wake up, check your phone before your feet hit the floor, and before you've even said good morning to another human, you've already seen at least 3 people's faces, all glowing, contoured, and lit like a Vogue cover. By the time you've had your coffee, you've been reminded that you should be drinking lemon water, that your hair could be shinier, and your skin clearer or abs tighter. And somewhere between scrolling and sipping, you start thinking, maybe you should document your own effortless morning. Vanity has been having a moment, though to be fair, it always is. From the That Girl morning routine on TikTok to $300 skincare fridges and gym selfies taken for the lighting rather than the workout, the internet feels like one giant mirror reflecting our faces back to us. We live in an age where the self has become a product. We're both the marketer and the merchandise. But here's the twist. This isn't some 21st century personality flaw we've suddenly developed. Humans have been obsessed with how they look for as long as we've been able to see our own reflections. So today we're going to peel back the filters, literally and figuratively, to explore why vanity thrives now, how technology accelerates it, and the uncomfortable truth. Our ancestors were just as image conscious as we are, only with fewer ring lights. We'll travel from the public baths of ancient Rome to the glittering halls of Versailles, through Renaissance oil paintings, Hollywood glamour shots, and even the 1980s aerobic craze. All to answer the question, why are we so obsessed with how we look? By the end, you might not look at the filtered Instagram selfie or a Renaissance portrait the same way again. Chapter 1. The Mirror Stage of Social Media. Modern vanity isn't just about wanting to look good, it's about documenting it. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, even LinkedIn have become digital mirrors. But unlike the one in your bathroom, these mirrors talk back. They whisper approval through likes, amplify certain images through algorithmic boosts, and sometimes deliver cutting silence through the absence of engagement. The philosopher Jacques Lacan famously described the mirror stage in childhood, the moment we recognize ourselves in a mirror and begin to piece together our sense of identity. It's a moment of self-awareness, but also self-performance. On social media, that stage never ends. We live in a constant cycle of seeing ourselves, refining ourselves, and presenting the version back to the world. Every selfie, every get ready with me video, every carefully framed brunch shot is not just a record of what happened, it's a performance of selfhood. And that's where vanity becomes tricky. We're not simply looking at ourselves anymore. We're looking at ourselves being looked at, and that shift is profound. It means that our daily routines are often planned with an audience in mind. Your morning skincare isn't just about keeping your face healthy, it's future content. Your vacation isn't just for rest, it's an opportunity to produce inevitable images that prove you were living well. Even moments of so-called authenticity are curated. The casual makeup-free selfie is often taken in perfect lighting and after multiple retakes. This self-awareness can be exhausting, the mental equivalent of walking through life with a spotlight following you, knowing that at any moment you might be called to perform. Historically, vanity as performance isn't new. In the 16th and 17th centuries, royal courts used portrait painters the way we used Photoshop. Elizabeth I's face was immortalized in paintings that erased her wrinkles and subtly exaggerated her jawline, a visual assertion of power and immortality. And then there's King Louis, who didn't just pose for paintings, he staged entire public rituals of dressing, eating, and walking in gardens, all carefully choreographed to reinforce his image as the Sun King. These displays weren't just self-indulgence, they were political theater, designed to shape how others perceived them. The difference is that in the past, this level of constant self-presentation was a privilege reserved for the elite. Only kings, queens, and wealthy patrons could afford the labor of maintaining a public image. Now, thanks to smartphone cameras and social platforms, we all can. And in some social circles, we're expected to. The pace of this image making is staggering. A 17th century portrait may take months to complete, from initial sketches to final varnish. In contrast, you can now take 50 selfies in under 5 minutes, edit them in seconds, and broadcast them globally in less time than it took a courtier to powder their wig. This speed changes not just how we present ourselves, but how we think about ourselves. There's no pause for reflection between who am I and how will I look to others. The two questions collapse into one. And when the answer is delivered instantly through digital feedback, our sense of self can start to depend on external validation. The social media algorithm has become the modern equivalent of a court audience, deciding which performances get the most applause. Posts that gain traction tend to follow certain visual formulas: bright lighting, symmetrical faces, polished bodies, and aspirational settings. Over time, this narrows the range of how we express ourselves, because the algorithm rewards what's familiar, not what's unique. Entire aesthetics emerge and go viral as a result. The clean girl look, the that girl lifestyle, the cottagecore fantasy. These are visual templates that have proven successful in the algorithmic mirror, and so many replicate them, sometimes without realizing they're participating in a digital costume party. In this environment, you don't just have a personal brand. You are the personal brand. Your clothes, your lighting choices, even your captions all become a part of a cohesive narrative about who you are. And like any brand manager, you start making strategic decisions about which parts of your life to highlight and which to conceal. This is not a modern invention. Historical figures also edited the public image. Napoleon was famously depicted as taller in paintings than he was in real life. Cleopatra cultivated an image of divine beauty, not just through her appearance, but through theatrical public entrances, arriving in gold sails and clouds of incense to reinforce her mythic status. But with historical vanity and physical limits, you could only host so many banquets or commission so many portraits. Our digital vanity has no such boundaries. We can perform for the mirror every hour of every day, from anywhere in the world. This is why some cultural critics argue that modern vanity isn't simply self-obsession, it's unpaid labor. You're not just making yourself look good for your own satisfaction, you're creating high-quality promotional content for social platforms to monetize. Every time you post, you generate engagement data and ad revenue for someone else. The irony is that in the past, being painted by a court artist or photographed for a magazine was a status symbol because it meant someone else considered you worth documenting. Now you have to do the documenting yourself, and constantly, just to remain visible in the social sphere. And so vanity becomes both a stage and a job. You are the performer, the audience, the critic, and the PR team, which raises the question: if every photo is performance, are we living our lives or just rehearsing them for the mirror? Chapter 2: The Historical Roots of Vanity, from Rome to Versailles. Vanity is often framed as a modern sin, a byproduct of influencer culture and iPhone cameras. But history tells a different story. Humans have been obsessed with appearances for a millennia. Long before ring lights and Photoshop, across civilizations, how one looked was not only a personal matter, but a public statement, a silent language of power, wealth, and identity. If modern vanity thrives in the digital arena, historical vanity was staged in marble baths, bustling marketplaces, and gilded palace halls. In ancient Rome, public image was a social necessity, especially for the elite. The wealthiest citizens were almost theatrical in their self-presentation. A typical day for an affluent Roman might begin in the public baths, a place that was part spa, part social club, and part political networking hub. Here, gleaming skin and scented oils were not just about hygiene, but about status. Wealthy Romans doused themselves in imported perfumes from Arabia, wore cosmetics to even out skin tone, and employed enslaved hairdressers who crafted towering hairstyles held in place with intricate pins and gold-threaded buttons. Roman philosopher Seneca, ever the cynic, openly mocked this obsession, writing about men who would pluck each individual body hair to appear more youthful, an ancient forerunner to today's laser hair removal. Vanity in Rome wasn't frivolous, it was a political currency. How you look could determine how seriously you were taken in the Senate or at a banquet. Fast forward to the Renaissance, and the language of vanity became even more elaborate. This was a period of unprecedented global trade, where silk from China, spices from the East Indies, and gemstones from India began circulating through European ports. With this influx came new possibilities for self-adornment. Clothing was a financial and social investment. A single embroidered gown could cost as much as a modest house. Fabrics were dyed in rare colors like Tyrian purple and Venetian scarlet. Shades so expensive they were often restricted by sumptuary laws to the upper classes. In portraits of the time, we see women draped in pearls, their hair sculpted into elaborate braids, skin powdered with lead-based cosmetics to achieve a pale, pure complexion. Men were no less vain. Doublets were padded to create an illusion of a stronger frame, and cod pieces were sometimes exaggerated to signal virility. Vanity here was about signaling refinement and lineage, an unspoken declaration that one had both wealth and the time to invest in beauty. Then we arrive at Versailles, perhaps the most spectacular display of vanity in history. Under the reign of Louis, the French court became a living stage set for the performance of elegance. Louis himself was a star, the Sun King, whose image was meticulously curated to project absolute power. He favored heels, yes, high heels dyed red to signify his elite status, and glittering coats woven with gold thread. But vanity at Versailles wasn't limited to the monarch. Courtiers engaged in endless arms race of extravagance, competing for attention through elaborate wigs, opulent fabrics, and delicate fans that doubled as flirting devices. One of the most theatrical rituals was the lever, the king's ceremonial rising. Each morning, select courtiers were granted the privilege of watching Louis wake up and get dressed, a process that was as much about spectacle as it was about governance. This wasn't just about clothing, it was a carefully crafted display of hierarchy, intimacy, and control. To be invited to witness the king's toilet was to be publicly acknowledged as important, but it also reinforced the idea that appearance itself was political theater. When we look back at Versailles, the powdered wigs, the brocade coats, the rouge applied to men's cheeks as liberally as to women's, it's easy to dismiss it as an outdated excess. But swap silk stockings for Gucci sneakers, the lace outfits for a Balenciaga hoodie, and the gold snuff box for a diamond-encrusted phone case, and the underlying logic is the same. In both cases, fashion operates as a visible currency, a way of saying I belong, or I outrank you, without uttering a word. The through line from Rome to Versailles is clear. Vanity has always been about more than personal pride. It's been a social signal, an economic tool, and often a political strategy in every era. People have dressed, groomed, and adored themselves not just to feel attractive, but to project an identity that others will recognize and respect. The only thing that changes is the medium, from marble statues to oil paintings, from powdered wigs to Instagram grids. Chapter 3, the beauty economy and how it profits from you. Vanity may feel like a deeply personal pursuit, the creams you choose, the way you style your hair, the fragrance you wear. But beneath the intimacy lies an industry designed to turn your desire to look good into corporate profit. In 2024, the global beauty industry is worth over $600 billion, and that figure doesn't even include adjacent markets like fitness, fashion, and cosmetic procedures, and wellness supplements. When combined, the broader appearance economy approaches the $1 trillion mark. Looking good isn't just a cultural obsession, it's one of the most lucrative industries on the planet. The beauty economy is built on a delicate balance between affirmation and insecurity. Advertisers have long mastered the art of selling two contradictory ideas. You're beautiful just as you are, followed immediately by, but here's something that can make you even better. This paradox keeps customers caught in a cycle of self-acceptance and self-improvement that never quite resolves. If you were truly satisfied with your appearance, you might stop buying. If you were completely insecure, you might give up. The trick is to keep you hovering in between, hopeful enough to try the next serum, but doubtful enough to feel you need it. This tactic is far from new. In the earliest 20th century, Pond's Cold Cream launched a series of advertisements promoting natural beauty, while subtly suggesting that women without their product risk looking tired, faded, or undesirable. In the 1960s, Clairol hair dye promised that only your hairdresser would know for sure, implying that keeping up appearances was an act of social survival. Even further back in the late 19th century, early department stores marketed imported perfumes and powders as a way to appear more cultured, directly linking beauty products to class status. Social media, however, has transformed the scale and speed of this persuasion. Influencers aren't just selling products, they embody the aspirational image. It's one thing to see a mascara ad in a magazine. It's another to watch someone on TikTok who looks like your friend applying that mascara in real time, chatting about their day, and swiping to reveal a dramatic before and after. The intimacy makes the sale feel personal, almost like a recommendation from a trusted peer than a pitch from a corporation. And because influencers show these products in context for a curated lifestyle, the spotless apartment, the oat milk latte, the golden hour lighting, the product becomes part of a larger fantasy that viewers can buy into. This has given rise to the phenomenon of parasocial aspiration. When followers don't just like an influencer, they want to be them, and that desire translates directly into sales. A lipstick isn't just pigment in a tube, it's an entry ticket into an idealized version of life. It's why a $50 moisturizer can feel like a small price to pay for the promise of waking up looking as radiant as the influencer uses it. The uncomfortable truth is that in this system, vanity's become a form of labor, often unpaid. Every gym selfie, every perfectly lit brunch photo is a subtle form of advertising for brands, even if you don't realize you're doing it. Wearing a Nike sports bra in a workout post is product placement, even if Nike never paid you a cent. A close-up of your nails holding a Starbucks cup is free marketing for both your nail salon and the coffee chain. Social platforms themselves benefit enormously from this. User-generated content keeps people scrolling, which keeps ad revenue flowing. You're both the consumer and the product. The labor extends beyond influencers. Everyday social media users contribute to the beauty economy simply by participating in visual culture. Posting a photo in a new outfit encourages comments, likes, and inevitability. Questions about where it's from. The casual tag of a brand name transforms into free promotion. And because beauty is tied to self-worth in such a visceral way, the cycle perpetuates itself. People post because they want to be seen. Being seen means judged. Being judged often leads to more purchases to improve the self. Even resistance to beauty standards has been modified. The no makeup look still requires products. Body positivity campaigns are often underwritten by brands selling plus-size fashion lines or inclusive makeup shades. The industry is remarkably adaptable. If a cultural shift threatens its profits, it co-opts the language of that shift to sell more goods. The economic implications are staggering. Beauty spending is one of the most resilient forms of consumerism, often referred to as the lipstick index. The theory that in times of economic downturn, people cut back on big expenses but continue to spend on small indulgences like cosmetics. The Great Depression saw booming sales of lipstick and rouge. During the 2008 recession, nail polish sales skyrocketed. In difficult times, beauty products become affordable luxuries, a way to feel in control when the world feels uncertain. But this resilience benefits the industry, not necessarily the individual. For the consumer, it often means funneling limited resources into products that promise transformation, but deliver only incremental temporary changes. The psychological pull is strong because beauty is never finished. There's always a new technique, a better product, a fresher trend. You can't complete your beauty routine any more than you can complete your personality. There will always be something else to buy. The beauty economy thrives because it's not just selling appearance, it's selling hope, identity, and belonging. In a hyper-visual culture where looking good can open doors, socially, romantically, even professionally, beauty products feel less like luxuries and more like investments. But as history shows, the rules of the game are designed so the house always wins. Chapter 4: Pop culture's role in mainstream vanity. Movies, music videos, and celebrity culture have always normalized vanity. But what's changed is that it's no longer something we can just consume passively. Today it's participatory. We don't just watch famous people set beauty standards, we join in, imitate, remix, and perform them ourselves on social media. The audience has stepped onto the stage. In the 1980s, MTV revolutionized how vanity was packaged and sold. Music videos didn't just showcase songs, they showcased bodies, clothes, and lifestyles. Stars like Madonna, Prince, and Michael Jackson didn't just release music. They presented full visual identities. The aerobics craze fueled by VHS workout tapes from Jane Fonda and Richard Simmons turned fitness into a fashionable performance. Leotards, neon leggings, and perfectly styled hair became just as important as the exercise itself. The body wasn't just a body, it was an accessory. By the 1990s, films like Clueless turned beauty routines into pop cultural rituals. Cher rotating her closet, her iconic plaid skirts, even her casual use of skincare masks became aspirational moments for a generation of teens. Beauty wasn't presented as an occasional effort, it was woven into daily life, normalized as part of what it meant to be a socially successful young woman. In this era, Vanity also started to lean into relatability, with teen magazines offering DIY versions of celebrity looks, suggesting that with the right products, anyone could glow like a star. Today, the cycle is faster and more immersive. Shows like Euphoria have set off waves of beauty trends that ripple instantly across TikTok and Instagram. A glitter eyeliner look worn by Zendaya's character one night can appear in thousands of makeup tutorials by the next morning. These trends feel personal, like self-expression, but they're still rooted in templates established by cultural gatekeepers. When you wear the glitter eyeliner, it may feel like an individual choice, but you're also participating in a mass aesthetic movement engineered by television, fashion houses, and social platforms working in tandem. This is one of pop culture's great sleights of hand. It turns conformity into self-expression. The same phenomenon happened in the 2000s with the rise of reality television. America's Next Top Model and Keeping Up with the Kardashians blurred the line between celebrity and viewer. These shows didn't just promote beauty ideals, they invited audiences to imagine themselves in the frame. Viewers could follow the same diets, buy the same contouring kits, and emulate the same Instagram poses as the stars. Vanity became an interactive game, one that rewarded you with likes and comments rather than magazine covers. The democratization of fame means that anyone now can be a micro-celebrity, but the status comes with the same pressures that Hollywood stars have endured for decades. Whether you have 500 followers or 5 million, there's an unspoken expectation to maintain a constant image. Influencers post daily updates, share behind-the-scenes glimpses, and respond to comments, all while maintaining the polished version of themselves their audience expects. The irony, of course, is that while celebrities are compensated handsomely for this labor, most ordinary people doing the same image maintenance are doing it for free, or even at personal cost, spending money on clothes, makeup, and equipment to keep up. The constant exposure blurs the boundary between private self and public persona. In the golden age of Hollywood, stars like Audrey Hepburn or Marilyn Monroe could retreat from the spotlight between films. Now the spotlight never turns off. Even off-duty moments are curated. The messy bun, no makeup selfie, or candid coffee runs are often carefully staged to appear spontaneous. Pop culture has taught us that looking effortlessly good is the highest art form of vanity. But perhaps the most powerful role pop culture plays in mainstreaming vanity is making it feel inevitable. There's always a new show, a viral red carpet look, a celebrity get ready with me video to set the next beauty standard. Trends don't just shift seasonally, they shift hourly. This rapid turnover means you can never truly catch up. There's always a new product, a new technique, and a new must-have aesthetic to try. In this way, pop culture keeps vanity from becoming static. It's a moving target, one that ensures the beauty economy remains profitable and the audience remains engaged. In the end, pop culture doesn't simply reflect our vanity, it directs it. It provides the reference points, the language, and the visual codes that define what's desirable at any given moment. And in a world where social media has turned us into our own PR managers, pop culture ensures us we never run out of material to emulate. The only real difference between now and the age of movie stars is that the performance is no longer limited to a select few. It's a role we're all expected to play. Chapter 5, is vanity really a bad thing? Vanity has been normalized for centuries, often framed as one of the 7 deadly sins, or as a sign of moral weakness, especially for women. In countless religious and philosophical texts and moral instruction manuals, preoccupation with appearance was seen as a distraction from virtue, a form of selfishness, or even a pathway to corruption. But while these condemnations were common, they rarely acknowledged the ways in which self-presentation could be a tool for survival, agency, and even quiet rebellion. In restrictive societies where a woman's social standing was often determined by her family's wealth or her husband's influence, beauty could function as a form of capital. A well-chosen dress, a carefully styled hairdo, or a fashionable accessory might open doors that were otherwise closed. In 18th century Europe, a woman's entrance into a prestigious salon or court gathering could hinge on her ability to appear fashionable and graceful. In the Victorian era, where women were discouraged from participating in politics or commerce, a personal appearance could be a way to signal intellect, taste, and social ambition, without breaking formal rules. Even in ancient Egypt, cosmetics were not merely ornamental. They served spiritual and medicinal purposes, with kohl eyeliner believed to ward off illness, and the evil eye. Vanity has also been an important form of identity, making for marginalized groups. In the early 20th century, Black communities in America embraced sharp, tailored clothing and elaborate hairstyles as acts of pride and self-definition in the face of systemic racism. In the 70s and 80s, the LGBTQ communities used fashion and beauty as a form of resistance, from the flamboyant self-expression of drag. In these contexts, vanity wasn't about conforming to mainstream beauty ideals. It was about reclaiming space, visibility, and dignity. Today, the conversation around vanity has evolved. Social media has definitely intensified pressures to look a certain way, but it has also provided platforms for alternative beauty standards to flourish. There are influencers who, from all walks of life, that can share their other alternatives, no filter beauty, effortless beauty standards, encourage self-expression, so it's not all bad. And for many, vanity can be empowering, a way to celebrate one's heritage, defy stereotypes, or simply enjoy the creativity that comes with personal style. However, the line between empowerment and exploitation is thin. The danger isn't vanity itself, it's when self-worth becomes tethered to external validation. When likes, comments, and follower counts become the measure of personal value, self-presentation stops being a form of self-expression and becomes a performance for others. This is where the historical and modern converge. Humans have always used appearance to communicate identity, but the risk today is that the audience is infinite and the feedback loop is constant. Ultimately, vanity is a neutral tool, neither inherently good nor bad. Its impact depends on why it's used. When appearance becomes a way to tell your own story, it can be liberating and creative and even political. But when the story is dictated by someone else's standards, whether that's a king's court of the 17th century or Hollywood studio in the 50s, or an Instagram algorithm, vanity risks becoming a form of self-erasure. The real question isn't whether vanity is moral or sinful. The question is, who's holding the mirror? If you're the one deciding how you look and what it means, vanity can be an act of self-possession. But if the mirror belongs to someone else, a brand, an audience, an industry, then you might be just reflecting their values and not your own. And it is interesting to see the history of vanity. I mean, it seems like for as long as time, people have been vain, and they always will be, because in some ways it's just how the way culture is, how beauty is celebrated, and everyone's trying to keep up with the Joneses, and vanity has been a political tool, a survival strategy, a form of rebellion, and a way of belonging. And it's been used to signal power, reclaim identity, and to seduce, to protect, and to tell stories that words could not. So in our current era, the mirror has multiplied. We no longer perform for a handful of people in a ballroom. We perform for hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of strangers online. And while this democratization of self-presentation can be empowering, it also comes with a price: the constant temptation to see ourselves only through the eyes of others. And the danger isn't that we care how we look, it's that we might forget who we are when the cameras are off. So maybe the real question isn't why we're so vain, but who we're being vain for. If the answer is ourselves, our joy, or our creativity, our sense of play, then vanity can be an act of self-love. But if the answer is for an algorithm, a brand, or an audience whose approval we can never fully earn, then we risk turning our lives into a never-ending audition. Because in the end, the mirror will always be there. The challenge is deciding whether we're living for it or living for ourselves. So thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on vanity and the whole historical perspective around it. Alright, thanks for watching.